Hello everybody and welcome to Libra Rising in Depth plus Venus, ruling planet in all houses. So everybody, the rising sign is much more than just your personality. It describes every area of your life. From the moment you are born, they are mapped out from that ascending sign right around the zodiac. I will talk therefore about your home life, wealth, family, education, career, health, relationships. It's all on this video. If you know where Venus is placed in your chart, please read for that house also. As your ruling planet, it contains important karmic destiny. If you are new to my channel, sub below and let's get started. So, Libra rising, let's understand the energies first of all. It's a cardinal sign. It's a Kendra sign. It's therefore got enormous energy behind it. It's an earth sign. It's an intellectual sign. When you have energy and intellect, what do you have? You have debate and argument. The absolute basis of Libra with the scales is about arguing things out, is about finding fairness and truth and justice in our society. But to do that, you have to go back and forth from both sides of the argument. Those scales have to move up and down, and that can be a little bit disruptive. That can cause arguments. We don't think of this Venetian sign as being argumentative, but Librans can be by default. Funnily enough, they hate argument. They hate anything too contentious because it disturbs their peace and harmony that they need so much. But nonetheless, this is a sign of the debater, of the argumentative factor that brings justice in our society. This is the sign, of course, of the courts of law, where you see those scales. All right, so this argumentative factor can even be internal. And when it becomes internal, it can lead to indecisiveness because the Libra is going back and forth in their own mind and they can't come to any clear decision. This can be hard. But the main factor about Libra, of course, is that it is the sign of society. So this need for society is very important when we're understanding Libra. Libra is the seventh sign. Therefore, as Aries is the first sign and the self, Libra is the seventh sign and the other. This means they need to be with other people. They don't do well on their own. They don't like to be alone very much either. They just need to be around people. They love to socialize. They love to be out and about and with other people. It's absolutely essential for their psychic well-being. So, of course, Librans need a personal relationship also, and intimate relationships are very important to them. However, there are some difficulties in them sometimes, and later on in this video, I will discuss that. Art and beauty, finally, so important. Libra is Venus rule, but the Venus from this cardinal earth sign is about man-made beauty, man-made art, and that's what they really appreciate. Of course, they can also love nature because Venus is also Taurus. Taurian Venus is about the beauty of nature, but really they love man-made art. And so what would that be? Well, it can be everything. It could be literature, it could be dance and drama, it could be painting, sculptures, art galleries, film, going to film societies, all of these things. Any sort of art at all, man-made art. They adore art and they love to be involved in it. And they're often very creative, extremely creative and artistic people in some way. Even if they are not involved directly, they will certainly appreciate art in all forms. Finally, they love to bring harmony and beauty into their environment and into their own appearance. Often these are very beautiful people. They look very good, basically. They can have very good bone structure. At the very least, they are fashionable because this is a sign of fashion, because that is, of course, man-made art. So Librans can look very stylish and they know how to dress well. So now let's go on to consider all the different areas of Libran life. The second house is ruled by Scorpio and Mars. It's a very intense house for Libra. I want to spend a bit of time on this. Family and relationships are both ruled by Mars, and Mars is very difficult because Venus and Mars It's not exactly harmonious, although they are actually neutral to each other. But because the second and the seventh are Marika or danger houses, Mars becomes dangerous vibration for Libra. So family life is often marred, particularly early family environment can be dangerous in some way. There could have been actual danger, actual death, actual loss there. This can be seen depending on the condition of Mars in your chart. It's definitely not harmonious though. The early family environment lacks harmony. And this is what they pick up on very early, and they become determined not to have to live like that. It's very important for them to have harmony in their family, but it becomes difficult, particularly relationship wise. They funnily enough often end up attracting a partner who in some way reminds them subconsciously of that early conflict. It's very deep. And so they often get this aggressive partner or very assertive partner who in some way brings back into their life some of those early family conflicts. Also, in regard to the family environment, Scorpio brings an element of secretiveness. Scorpio, 8th house sign, is about sudden events, unexpected events, as I say, dangerous events, but sometimes these have to be kept under wraps and not spoken about even. It all depends, as I say, on Mars and the aspects to Mars. But generally, though, there is some secretive aspect to the early family environment. And this element of secretiveness actually goes over into their dealing with wealth. Scorpio means that they can accumulate wealth. They can earn and save and make money work for them very well. Often they are self-employed or business people also, because Scorpio is a very good business sign. But they're secretive. They are not open about wealth. Even with people very close to them, they don't like to say how much wealth they actually have. The third house for Libra is Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. You might think that's really good for travel. It is in a way, and they often love to travel. I'm going to talk about that separately. But for siblings, following on from the family situation, it isn't that harmonious. Why? Because it rules the 6th house of conflict. So Jupiter is never a good planet for Libra. Mars and Jupiter are the most difficult planets, and in those Mahadashas they have the most difficulty, and they just don't get that harmony. So no, siblings, it can be very complicated. There can be real conflict or competition, more than likely, with at least one sibling. But because we have a Jupiter impact, there may be travel with a sibling, or there may be separation from a sibling, due to maybe health issues or conflict or something which separates you from a sibling. Or it is simply, it's like an intellectual thing, that you've got a completely different philosophical system to your siblings, and you just don't get on with them on that level. That can often be seen. Okay, so siblings, not the easiest factor. Very often Librans have a sibling who lives abroad, who lives away from where they live, and that's the Sagittarius aspect to it. Travel. They love to travel because Venus is about society, meeting people, and to get together with people, you have to travel. But traveling can be difficult for Librans. I've seen some interesting things with Libra Rising. I've seen some really interesting phobias around travel. Again, post below if you have these too. I've seen a few Libra Rising who don't like to fly. I've got a real phobia with flying. It's just that Jupiter energy is mixed in with that 6th house, a fearful house. So they love to travel. And they can be very good travelers, because Sagittarius gives them itchy feet, yeah? They want to go places, meet people, move in different societies, and therefore you have to travel. But sometimes there's some form of a conflict when they're actually on the move. So it's not the most harmonious area of their life. Now we come to two quite harmonious areas in some way. Home life, the 4th house, and then the 5th house, both ruled by Saturn. Saturn is a powerful planet for good for Libra because Venus and Saturn are great friends. And Saturn is Yogakaraka. It brings Libra to greatness because the fourth house is a Kendra and the fifth is a trine house. So Saturn is powerful. Wherever Saturn is, that area has power in it in a Libran's life. So have a check where you have Saturn in your chart if you are Libra rising. But what is home about? Home is about where your heart is, if you like, because heart is the home, and it's your mother influence. Saturn can give a stern mother influence sometimes, but a good influence if it gives you a sense of discipline. Librans at their heart have very good discipline. They are self-disciplined and they discipline their children also. Fifth house, but in a good way. They like to have order in their home environment. They're often very good at dealing with a home environment. They can be very, not in a domesticated way like Cancer rising or Taurus even. They're not touchy-feely domesticated. It's about having everything harmonious and maybe artistic, but working. They get everything working in their home. They make their home work in a very practical Capricorn way. More than anything else, I've seen Librans work from home. I've seen this again and again. Why is this? Because Capricorn is the 10th house naturally, and Saturn is about work. So they often work from home. They often have a job which is absolutely about being at home. It may not be for all of their job. I'm going to talk about their 10th house soon, but it's a very interesting thing because the moon is their 10th house lord, and the moon is the natural fourth house planet. So home and work often go together. So as I say, they've got this very intense, serious relationship with their mother. It's very serious, it's very structured, and it's often very useful. And they are very together in their home lives. So, children education, fifth house ruled by Aquarius. Again, Saturn, Yogakaraka, very favorable house. They often do very well with their children. Children are very well brought up, very well educated, and very disciplined children, but they do well in society. They're often very successful as adults as well. So it's normally a very good area of their life. Education also is something very good for Librans. They enjoy being in education because they like being with people. They might enjoy the people aspect of going in education more than the actual intellectual education itself sometimes, okay? Because it's about the group, and they love to mix with all sorts of different types of people in their education because that's what Aquarius is all about, bringing people together. They can be good teachers also because of this Saturn aspect. They are often very good teachers of all sorts of subjects. However, when it comes to career, it's interesting because the moon, which is a very changeable and shifting influence, rules their 10th house from Cancer. So as I've just been talking about, often Librans work from home for some time in their life. They have some sort of a job that they do from home. One thing you'll see with a Libran is a changing career pattern, and absolutely. They can go into many areas that are related to food because Cancer rules food, into caring for other people. But in some way, you need to look at where the moon is placed and how strong it is for how successful they will be in a big way. But because the moon rules the public, they like to work with the public, work with people, and it can be a sign of fame sometimes, okay, because the moon is your public acclaim. So if they have a strong, increasing, bright moon, and it's well placed, they can have an extremely successful career. They could even have fame because that's what the moon is all about. It's about popularity, okay? But, on an average way, it's about a changing career. where they have many strings to their bow. I've seen this. Librans can have more than one thing going on at the same time. So they're very, very versatile in their career. So, health and conflicts for Libra is ruled by Pisces, a very spiritual sign. What does this mean? Well, first of all, it's more difficult for conflicts than it is for health. Health-wise, Librans have to be aware of excess because Jupiter is about excess, particularly sweet foods, because Jupiter has to do with sweet foods. And they often have a very sweet tooth and have to try to curb that. That can affect their health. The feet and the lymph nodes are particularly vulnerable, and the digestive system too. Again, overindulgence, they have to be careful there. They are very attracted though to alternative healing methods and to fasting, meditation, and all of these aspects, which is very favorable for them when they have health issues. I know one Libra rising who's a very successful alternative health doctor, if you like, and she's very successful in this, but she has an exalted Jupiter in Cancer in the 10th house, so that can happen too. But also Librans like to be of service to other people in very practical ways, and if they learn any alternative healing method, they like to pass that on. Conflicts, though, are difficult for Libra. Any open enemy, any open conflict can happen in a sudden, unexpected way. And it can get out of control because Pisces is about hidden aspects. They can have enemies they don't know they've got. They can have enemies, be really surprised to find the people they thought were a friend are really a frenemy, if you like, or not so much their friends at all. They have to be careful of how they are perceiving other people sometimes. But on the whole, though, when they have an open conflict situation, maybe divorce or something which is to do with money situations or law situations or anything which is open in the courts of law, anything such as this, it's very stressful for them. They find it really hard. And Pisces gives them the urge to escape. Librans will never really want to admit to having an open enemy. If you are an open enemy of them, they will, try to deny there is a problem. They will do anything they can to escape. That's a Pisces side from open conflict. Relationships for Libran is Aries ruled, Mars ruled. I've discussed in some detail how the family atmosphere can be inharmonious in their early childhood, and this affects psychologically how they deal with relationships. You see, Librans need other people. It's an underlining thing to their whole life. They must be around people. They don't like to be alone. They love to be with friendship circles. They love to be in big society groups, and that's their 11th house is ruled by the sun. So let's bring in that now. So that they love to have friends. They can have a lot of friends or a small amount of friends, or that will all depend on their sun. But the sun is what lights up their life. So being with people, 11th house, lights up a Libran's life. They like nothing more than to be among friends, to be in a group, to be among other people talking, debating, arguing, having a good time, but bringing harmony and just bringing people together. They like to be with people and they enjoy talking about other people. They don't like to be alone that much all of the time. So you think this must be good for a relationship, but conversely, it's not. Here's the problem. If you've got a very well-placed Mars in a good house, then this can be very good for finding a very good relationship with a very outgoing, somewhat aggressive and purposeful partner. They tend to attract people who argue a lot, people who debate a lot, which of course they do, but they tend to attract people who are aggressively argumentative. I've seen this quite a lot, where Librans end up with a very dominant partner. And it's sort of like a counterbalance to their own desires, okay? Because they want peace and harmony, but they like to argue. They don't like to assert themselves. They want to be agreeable and pleasant because that's what Venus is all about. But sometimes they do it by default through a partner. So they attract an aggressive, assertive partner very often. But what happens in their actual relationship? Well, this tends to happen. They often want to change the partner. I've seen this. Venus is about harmony, smoothing things out, making things balanced, yeah? So they want to smooth out the partner, they want to balance out the partner, and it can cause contention. It's a very difficult thing for Librans. When they're with somebody all the time, they want it to be harmonious, and that's not how relationships are. So they find arguments in their relationships, they find quarrels, they find difficulties that they just can't psychically cope with. And Librans can do the most amazing bending over backwards to avoid these conflicts, even to the point of ending the relationship. Yeah, this is why actually choosing a partner is a difficult thing for Librans. They often go through many failed relationships, sometimes particularly if Venus and Mars are in any way in disharmony in their chart. Check in the D9 as well to see how well aspected Venus and Mars are by sign and house placement before you can get a final decision on this. But yes, Venus and Mars has a very special aspect though, in that it can give passionate relationships as well. Venus and Mars is about passion. So just like Taurus, there can be tempestuous, passionate relationships. So finding that harmony, finding that balance with the perfectly matched mate can cause some separations on that route. But again, as I say, final thing is the D9. So just a quick point, everybody, before we move on to look at your ruler through the houses. What is the secret of why the Ascendant ruler is so important? This is the answer. The Ascendant Lord is like a guide, a planet sent to guide you through this incarnation. But what they hold are the karmas that were unfinished, a particular portion of deeds that you have to perform in this life. Completely different to Ketu, different to Atmakaraka. This is a particular deeds which you have to do. What are those deeds? Where do you have to perform them? That is shown by the house placement of your Ascendant Lord. And in the Mahadasha periods and the Antvadasha periods also, you get the opportunity to perform those particular karmas when you're in that Ascendant Lord Mahadasha or a friendly planet to that Lord. Have a check on my video on Mahadashas and Ascendant Lord. Okay, so let's now go through all the houses where your ruling planet might be placed. So when Venus is your ruling planet rising in his own sign of Libra, it's a very powerful and fortunate position to have. There are some issues, and I'll be talking about those too. But first and foremost, don't forget Venus is your 8th house lord, and we always have to bring in that. So you may be surrounded by conflict all of your life. People who are not getting on, people who are in an inharmonious situation. Your purpose, your karmic destiny is to absolutely bring harmony, to bring people together. So you may be attracted to, in some way, anything which does that in our society. You may be a sort of arbitrator, but on the very basic level, this is a very powerful magnetic position of Venus. You attract other people to you. You're a powerfully attractive person. You've got a magnetic pull. People want to be around you. You may look very good. You may be very stylish and very beautiful. But it isn't even about that. That all depends on the other aspects of Venus here and the other grahas involved. But very often you do look good, you're very stylish, and you're very attractive to other people. Your relationships are incredibly important to you. You absolutely have to bring harmony into many aspects of your personal relationships. Often it all depends on you. The ball is in your court here, all depending on other aspects there. As I say, you may attract a very dominating partner, and your purpose is to make that relationship work, and that's your karmic destiny here by absolutely bringing harmony to that relationship. So a very powerful magnetic force for material good too. You can be very successful in a material sense with this Venus rising. And minus side, you've got to be aware of self-indulgence, particularly maybe sometimes sweet foods, but in any area you have to avoid going to excess here. So Venus as your ruler from Libra is going to Scorpio second house, a very intense karma with your family, with your early family environment. On this video, I talked about some of those issues in general, but for you, it's very personal, very intense. There can be secrets in your family that affect you in a big way. Okay, and you are a very secretive person. You're very secretive. You're very possessive. You hold on to people, hold on to things, and hold on to your values, of which you are almost obsessive about sometimes. And you do have to be aware in your personal relationships that you can become a little bit obsessed. With the 8th house aspect, though, and of course, and Venus is the lord of the 8th house in the 2nd house as well. There's going to be some intensity around relationships and joint finances at some point in your life. But the good thing about Venus here is, though, that it makes you a very determined individual. You are absolutely determined to do the things which you want to do in life, and it gives you a great deal of resilience. So Venus as your ruling planet from Libra in the 3rd house is a very dynamic position, because in Sagittarius there's a real need to learn about foreign cultures, to explore foreign philosophy, and even speaking different languages can be a big key in your life also. But you're very much into the in-depth aspects of philosophy, religion, and all these systems which you need to explore and which you enjoy communicating when you do. The 3rd house is all about communication, of course. It's about skill base. So you can have very many skills that are connected to Sagittarian issues, such as maybe even dance and drama, because, you know, dance is actually a Sagittarian aspect. Sagittarius is a very movable sign. It's about freedom, movement. So exploring yourself creatively, maybe in the dance, maybe in the drama, can be part of your life. But that all depends on the aspects of Venus. It can be any of the arts, as I say, literature, poetry, sculpture, whatever it is. You're very skillful in those particular areas which interest you. The minus side, of course, is there will be sibling karma here. Very strong sibling karma, which you have to deal with depending on the aspects of Venus. Now, Venus as the 8th house lord, of course, also brings in this aspect of fated karma with siblings. There can be sometimes loss of siblings depending on the aspects, or there can be separation from siblings. But dealing with siblings and dealing with the issues of siblings will be a very important part of your life. But Venus is a harmonious aspect here. So in the end, you do tend to work out these issues very well. Venus is your ruling planet in Libra, and it's gone into the 4th house in Capricorn. A very strong position, a Kendra position for Venus. It's actually very fortunate because Venus does well in the 4th house. Venus here is about a karmic destiny with family, with sorting out issues within the family which were left over from the past life. Some people say that with this Venus you have gone back into your family of origin from a last life. So you are here to carry over those karmas and to sort them out. And there can be very serious issues because Saturn is the ruler here, but a good planet for you, and Venus is the 8th house lord. So there can be serious issues in the home. There can be loss in the early environment, but you overcome these issues. You overcome all of these early obstacles, and you go on to very good success with this Venus in a very strong sign here. You are the one to bring harmony into the home, into the early environment, and into your home life on your own later on. Okay, you can have a very good relationship situation where you build a home together. It's all about sharing here and building together. You don't like to live alone. You like to have other people in your home. You like a really busy social environment in your home. Finally, mother relationships and perhaps an early female relative may be very karmic and extremely difficult to begin with. But again, with this Venus over time, it can sort out very well indeed. And it's very good for working from home and earning from home also. So Venus as a ruler of Libra has gone into Aquarius in the 5th house. This is a very favourable all-round position. Venus is strong in a Saturn sign, but it is still the 8th house lord as well as your ruler. So your karmic destiny here is definitely around children. And there may be some issues with children. There may be sometimes some losses, not always. All depends on the aspects to Venus from the 11th house grahas and maybe some other grahas also. So Venus gives though very intense relationships with your children, which are very structured and normally very successful. And it would absolutely show a very good relationship with female children also. Again, you need to look at all the other planets involved there. So very good normally for children relationships. Very good for your own ability to create art. You're a very artistic person. You've got a very good sense of structure because of Saturn's influence here. So you're very good at any sort of structured art form. You know, this may be literature, this may be painting, sculpture, this may be dance and drama. It could be anything at all, but you're a very structured and you're a very disciplined person as well. You know how to give yourself a discipline and to get things done. Therefore, you're very good in education. But again, there is the 8th house aspect here, so there may be some delays or some breaks in education, but absolutely long term you can go far in this area. It's a good position. Now, Venus as your ruler from Libra is exalted in Pisces, but in the 6th house. So this has got a dual aspect. First of all, it makes you a very extremely caring and intuitive individual. You absolutely find that your whole destiny is about being of service to other people. And you may go into medical fields or into caring fields or into some field in which you are caring for and helping other people. This gives you a real purpose in life, and it is absolutely your karmic destiny to finish off these aspects. But Venus in the 6th house might trouble your own health for some people. It can give niggling, ongoing, concerns, particularly circulation based sometimes. And, it does give for some people a propensity to accidents as the 8th house lord, but don't become alarmed by that because Venus is always a soothing influence, and you're a very good healer yourself. You know how to heal yourself and you know how to heal other people. Venus is so well placed in this spiritual sign that no matter what illnesses happen, no matter what occurs, you find the absolute right help. So you always get the right doctor, you always get the right medicine, and things always work out for you over time. You are intensely concerned also sometimes with small animals, with this Venus, because this is the 6th house of small animals, and have very intense and karmic relationships with your pets. Venus as your ruler from Libra is in Aries, in a very passionate sign in the 7th house. Relationships are going to be a big part of your karmic destiny. In fact, the most important thing in this lifetime will be one important relationship where you may be finishing off a relationship from a past lifetime. Venus makes you impulsive, however, makes you very quick to start a new relationship. You've got to be careful that you are cautious to get to know people because Venus in Aries is very passionate and a bit too much about moving things on as fast as you can. Venus can also bring a person who is like that into your life, a very impulsive, fast-paced person. Okay, now Venus here aspecting your first house makes you a very attractive person to other people in relationships. So you have no trouble normally finding relationships and becoming involved in them. Venus is your 8th house lord, don't forget also. So Venus as your 8th house lord can bring a break in a relationship sometime that can be rather difficult for you depending on the aspects to Venus. But you can also benefit financially enormously from a maybe relationship separation in some cases. But either way, Venus is very strong in this house, in a Kendra house, and it means that you always have another relationship lined up if there is a break. Okay, because as I say, you are very attracted to other people. You just need to make sure that you get to know people properly before you commit. So Venus as your ruler from Libra is in Taurus in the 8th in its own sign. It's very fortunate, but the 8th house has some difficult aspects. So let's put it all together. Venus in Taurus is going to make you very good with money. You're a very good business person. You do enormously well in any business, particularly in a partnership. If you've got a well aspected Venus, you are very good in a joint business situation, and you can amass an enormous amount of wealth. But there will be ups and downs because Venus in the 8th gives big sudden events which can turn things around. So it could be either going up in business or going down in a business situation, but you always come up again. So even if you have some losses, you make up for them because Venus is so well placed. You're a very intense person. You've got very strong value systems and you believe in things and you don't shift your values very often. But sudden events in life happen that make you have to shift, and you find these disturbing, particularly relationship wise. This may affect your romantic or long-term relationship. It can absolutely give you a very intense and passionate romantic involvement at some time in your life. Very intense. According to the aspects of Venus, it can be long lasting or not. But you're a very possessive person. You do tend to cling on to people. Okay, but Venus here though can actually help you to gain financially. Even from, if you did have a divorce, you would absolutely gain financially from that, normally if it is well aspected. But as I say, you are a very passionate person, a very much into who you like and who you don't like, and what you like and what you do not like. And of course, this is the house of the occult and hidden knowledge, including astrology. So you have an intense and fortunate involvement with all of these aspects. So Libra, you have Venus, your ruling planet, in Gemini in the 9th house. This is a very favorable placement, but has multiple aspects. First of all, foreign culture and foreign lands are destined for you to be a big part of your life. Now, this can mean different things all depending on the aspects, but you may go to live permanently in a foreign land. You may have multi-language skills because Gemini is about spoken word and languages. You may be very fluent in more than one language, and this may even be by birth, and you may be bilingual sometimes. But even if you don't move abroad, you will definitely be inspired in a big way by foreign culture, foreign philosophy, and even religion. You are definitely going to have a special sibling situation because of the 7th aspect here. Now, I've been saying on this very video how difficult sibling situations are for Libra sometimes. For this Venus, though, it may be far better. In some ways, as long as this is strongly aspected in a good way, you can have one particular strong relationship with a sibling. Because it's a sign of the twins, it gives a very good sibling relationship. So Venus as your ruler from Libra has gone into the 10th house into Cancer. Venus in Cancer is a very sociable aspect. So you're absolutely want to be in a very public orientated, people orientated career situation. But what you do isn't really that important in this aspect, because as your ruler, it's more about who you are and what you are here. Venus in the 10th gives you a need for status, a karmic destiny whereby you have lost status in a past life and you are here to make up for that status now. And you feel this from a very early age, this need to be somebody, to do something good in the world. At the very least, you want to be noticed, you want to stand out in some way. But Venus, don't forget, is the 8th house lord. Now, because Venus is the 8th house lord, there will be aspects of change in your career more than normally for a Libran. And Librans often have more than one career or more than one string to their bow. I've been talking about that. But you're going to have sudden changes and sudden things happening that pull you down and up and down in your career. But you keep on going, and ultimately it's very good for your material success and for your career success in the end. It's a very strong placement. Finally, you absolutely need to have a career path which is sociable, which gives you fun and enjoyment, because Venus is about enjoying being with people and having relationships. So you may meet a partner in your career path, or you may just have very good friendships and network circles. It's really not very good for being in isolation, though. You need to be with other people in a public career sense. So Venus, as your ruler from Libra, is in the 11th house in Leo. It's very favorable for your friendship and your networking situations. You have a karmic destiny here to be a peacemaker in your friendship circles, but also to be a leader, because Leo is a sign of leadership and royalty. So you're a very loyal friend, and you attract loyal friends, and your friendship groups and your networks are very important to you. Now, in regard to income, you're going to have a definite good fortune here, as long as Venus is well aspected, not goodly, well aspected. But don't forget, Venus is Taurus as well on the 8th house. So very often it's very good for business. You can do very well in a joint business situation, but there will be fluctuations. That's because the 8th house is always about sudden events. So there may be ups and downs, but ultimately it's very good for a steady increase in money situations. Most of all, though, this is a very hopeful situation. It actually makes you a very optimistic, upbeat person mostly. And you are a leader of sorts. Your whole karmic destiny is about helping other people, leading other people, maybe teaching also. That's because of the 5th house aspect. So being with younger people, being an inspirational figure, may be also part of your karmic destiny here. So Venus, as your ruler from Libra, has gone to Virgo in the 12th house. There's a lot of aspects to this. First of all, Libra is a very strongly sociable sign, but the ruler in the 12th house is not about socialization. It's about being alone for spiritual development. It's about time alone. So there's a big conflict for you. On the one hand, you need other people, you want to please other people and be with them. On the other hand, you need time to yourself. And this is going to be difficult or not, depending on the aspects of Venus. But you definitely do need time alone. Why is this? Because you have come into this incarnation with a spiritual destiny to find spiritual development and to grow from what you left behind. So karmically, you didn't complete some spiritual knowledge, some occult knowledge, and you are here to pick up on it again and to complete it. So from a very early age, you will have this pull to these spiritual, occult, hidden aspects of life. And as you have Libra rising, it's a conflict, because Libra doesn't want to spend time alone studying and doing all this stuff. It wants to be out in the world, but those aspects are in conflict with your spiritual development. You may also go into foreign lands in regard to this, and sometimes romantic opportunities come to you with people from foreign cultures or when you go into foreign cultures. You may have long distance relationships too, because Venus here, you know, makes you have to move around to continue with a relationship sometimes. But all of these things all depend on the other Varga charts and the aspects to Venus. But the most important thing is you need to be not afraid to give yourself that time alone that you so badly need. Okay, everybody, so I hope you enjoyed the video on Libra Rising. Coming up soon will be Scorpio and many other videos on Vedic astrology. Sub to my channel if you haven't already. Goodbye for now, and God bless everybody.